Hey guys, PokeDan here. Throughout the Pokemon anime, there have been countless characters who have been introduced to the screen. Living in the Pokemon world, of course, nearly all of these characters have Pokemon partners, but not all are necessarily captured by them in the wild. Instead, there are a lot of characters who are straight up just handed their Pokemon as a gift, and in this video, I want to talk about them. Today you join me in discussing every gift Pokemon received in the anime. Even if a Pokemon is gifted to a character without it being shown on screen, for example a character receiving their starter before debuting in the anime, I'm gonna talk about them purely for the sake of getting every known gift Pokemon in the anime out there. Also, due to how much I had to research for this video, there may be one or two mistakes here or there, so apologies if I get any details wrong. Also, be sure to let me know who your favourite gifted Pokemon from the anime are down in the comments section. But with all that being said, let's get started with the video. Starting off, let's talk about all of Ash Ketchum's gifted Pokemon, beginning with the obvious Pikachu. Pikachu was given to Ash to be his starter Pokemon by Professor Oak in the very first episode of the anime. Up next is Donphan, who was received as an egg in Extreme Pokemon and later hatched in the episode Hatching a Plan. When it returned in the Hoenn series, it managed to evolve. One of Ash's gifted Pokemon who didn't evolve was Oshawott, who he was given to by Professor Juniper in a Sandile Gusher of Change. One of Ash's more well-known gifted Pokemon to me is probably Scraggy, who was quite the character. Anyway, Karina gifted Scraggy to Ash as an egg in Here Comes the Trubbish Squad. Finally, the latest gifted Pokemon Ash received was from Professor Sycamore, which was of course his Froakie. In the anime, this Pokemon was a fan favourite, especially when it later turned into Greninja and Ash Greninja. Anyway, that's it for Ash. So real quick, let's squeeze in Gary Oak, who was gifted his starter Pokemon in the same episode Ash received his. And of course by the same professor, being Oak. His starter was a Squirtle. Up next is Brock, who was also gifted a few Pokemon. Let's start with Steelix. As an Onix, this Pokemon was gifted to Brock on his 10th birthday by his father, Flint. Onix was one of many Pokemon that was gifted to its trainer prior to being introduced into the anime. Not quite Brock's speciality rock type, but another Pokemon he was gifted was Vulpix in the episode Pokemon Fashion Flash. I remember Brock always caring for this cutie, but in the Johto anime he gave it back to the person who gave him Vulpix, being Susie. One gifted Pokemon that Brock did keep was his Chansey, who you most likely know as his Happiny. Brock actually won this Pokemon as an egg in All Dressed Up with Somewhere to Go for placing first in a dress-up competition. When it hatched, Happiny was a staple in the Sinnoh series. Brock's most recent addition to his team was also a Pokemon he was gifted, being his Comfey. This Pokemon was handed over to him by Melee Island's Nurse Joy after Brock helped out at the Pokemon Center. But yeah, that's it for Brock. Up next is Casey. Now I imagine a lot of you guys don't know who this is, but she was a trainer who reoccurred in the Johto anime. Anyway, she had two gifted Pokemon, the first being her Meganium. Like most other trainers who received their starter Pokemon, she was gifted her Meganium as a Chikorita from Professor Elm prior to its appearance in the Double Trouble header. Another Pokemon Casey was gifted was her Beedrill, and by who else other than our boy Ash. Ash gave away this Bee Pokemon in the episode The Bug Stops Here, after catching it in the bug catching contest at National Park. Next up are characters from Pokemon Chronicles, being Marina, Jimmy, and Vincent. And all three of these trainers obtained their starter Pokemon as Totodile, Cyndaquil, and Chikorita prior to them appearing in The Legend of Thunder. I don't know if you guys remember him, but during the Johto League there was a character who defeated Ash known as Harrison. Well, what was interesting about Harrison was that he came from the Hoenn region where he received his starter Pokemon as a Torchic from Professor Birch. Another Torchic that Professor Birch gave away was to May, which we all saw debut in the episode Get the Show on the Road. This was an important gift Pokemon as it became one of the most reliant members on May's team. Another starter that May got given was her Squirtle in the episode The Right Place and the Right Mime. Of course, this water type was handed over to her by good old Professor Oak. Last but certainly not least, the final Pokemon that was just given to May was her Glaceon, but of course as an Eevee egg. This egg was given to May for helping to defeat Team Rocket and was awarded to her by the characters Christopher and Jeannie. With May out of the way, let's quickly talk about Brock's brother Forrest. Now this trainer was quite lucky to have such a friendly sibling, as Brock just gave him his Steelix, Geodude and Crobat. I didn't know if I should include this one because apparently this was only Forrest borrowing the Pokemon, but nonetheless it's better to include just in case. Up next is a father and daughter duo being Stephanie and her dad, who received a Mudkip and a Trico from Nurse Joy in the episode having a Wailord of a time. Another nameless character who was just given his starter Pokemon was Gilbert, who received Bulbasaur from Professor Oak in the Pokemon Chronicles episode Journey to the Starting Line. Rounding it off for the Hoenn era is Misty, who was given an Azurill egg from Tracy Sketchit, which hatched prior to its first appearance in the Scheme Team. A new region and a new protagonist, so let's talk about Dawn. Obviously, this character was given her starter Pokemon Piplup by the Sinnoh region's Professor Rowan. This event occurred in the first episode of the Diamond and Pearl series. Later on in the series, the character Lyra appeared and gave Dawn a Cyndaquil egg which later evolved into her Quilava. The final Pokemon of Dawn's that was just given to her was her Togekiss. This Pokemon originally belonged to Dawn's doppelganger Princess Salvia, but was given away to Dawn so that it could continue to compete in Pokemon contests, and personally, I'm glad this happened because Dawn's Togekiss was one of the MVPs in the Sinnoh anime. The character you'd least expect to give away a Pokemon of his, Paul, actually did this when he gave an unnamed boy his Azumarill in the episode A Gruff Act to Follow. And before some of you try to outsmart me in the comment section, no, Paul never gave Ash his Chimchar. Paul simply released it and then Ash offered Chimchar to join his team later. After a short trip to Sinnoh, we now arrive in Unova, where the protagonist Iris and her well-known partner Axew were united when Axew was given to her as a gift by a respected elder from her hometown. This was of course prior to their debut episode in the Black and White series. Next up, and actually rounding it off for Unova, we have Trip and his Serperior. In the episode In the Shadow of Zekrom, Trip was given his Snivy by Professor Juniper. It's also the same episode where Snivy whooped Pikachu's caboose. Kicking it off for Kalos, who better than Serena? Now, although her team was small in the Gen 6 anime, her starter Pokemon was of course given to her by the regional professor. Her Fennekin later evolved to be a Braixen and of course a fan favourite. Serena was gifted her Fennekin in the episode A Shockingly Cheeky Friendship. Up next is Ash's other Kalos buddy, Clement, who was given his Chespin in the episode Mega Meowth Madness by Professor Sycamore. This was, of course, after Clement had befriended it. Chespin is actually a really funny Pokemon in the anime, and I'm glad that it chose to join Clement's team. Another Chespin given away by Professor Sycamore was Chespy, who was given to Marin prior to the Mega Evolution Special 1. The final Pokemon for Kalos is another starter, this time being Sawyer's Sceptile, who was given to him prior to the episode Battling with Elegance and a Big Smile. This Pokemon was given to him by Professor Birch as a Trico. So finally we have Alola. So let's kick things off with Kiawe, who was gifted his Charizard prior to the first episode of the Sun and Moon anime by his grandfather. Up next is Snowy the Vulpix, and this Pokemon was gifted to Lily on screen in the episode Lily's Exhilarating Challenge. Snowy was given to Lily as an egg by Samson Oak, and it helped her to get rid of her fear of touching Pokemon. The last of Ash's companions from the Alola series who received their partner was Marlowe. Yep, that's right, she was given her Tsarina as a Bounsweet from her mother prior to her debut episode. Just like Professor Kukui's Incineroar, which was revealed to have been given to him as a Litten by his parents before it first appeared on screen. Finally, I suppose I may as well include it, we have Red from the Pokemon Origins series who was given his starter Pokemon Charmander by Professor Oak in the first episode of the series. Same as his rival Blue, but you know, Squirtle instead. But anyway guys, with all that being said, that pretty much wraps things up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Also be sure to let me know which Pokemon you're glad were gifted to a trainer in the anime down in the comments section. But with all that being said, for now, I've been PokeDan, you've been amazing, and I'll see you guys next time.